Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to another running session. Now the idea for today's running session is quite an exciting one and I'm really looking forward to giving this a try actually. It's an idea that loads and loads of people have suggested over time and so finally I've decided it's time to do it. So the idea is to run an NRM running session. Now just in case obviously you're not from the area or if you're not familiar with the NRM is a huge museum up in York and it really is huge. I mean look it up online, it's a massive place, and inside are basically lots and lots of locomotives amongst other things, and those locomotives form part of the National Collection. Now the National Collection is just a large group of locomotives, most of which are based at York at the National Railway Museum, which is of course what the NRM stands for. Not all of the National Collection is there though. I mean, for example, at the Great Central Railway, I did a video there a few weeks ago, months ago now really, we saw the Robinson 01 and that of course is part of the National Collection, but it has been loaned to the GCR and there are lots of locomotives like that. But for the most part, the National Collection lives at York and a few other places. So what I've decided to do today is to run some locomotives which actually live at York. Now it's quite difficult to figure out exactly what is there at the moment because as I say they do lend things out, but I think all of the locos I'm running today do currently live there or at least have been there for for a while over the last few years. Now the trouble is, right, I don't necessarily have all of the exact right locomotives. For example, at the NRM they've got a crab, for example. I've got a crab in the same livery too, but it's a different running number, but just so that I've got enough locos to run in this video, I am going to still run it. However, I'm going to try and make sure that all of the locos I run today are at least in the correct livery. For example, the NRM has an M7 there, I think, with an LSWR livery on it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an M7 with the LSWR livery, so I'm not going to run that because it doesn't look like the one at the NRM. One exception to that, I'm going to run the Flying Scotsman today in its classic LNER green livery because I think that's the livery we all sort of recognise on it. So that's going to be the one exception, but apart from that, everything is going to look just about as it does at the NRM. So let's get started. A massive shout out and thank you to Adam Tandy. A few months ago he sent me a list of possible locos for this running session, so thank you Adam. I took a look at that and I've used some of those off the list for sure. But here we go then with some locomotives from the National Railway Museum, and it's a great place to go if you haven't been. Anyway, let's get started. So speaking of the Flying Scotsman, there she is now in all of her glory. Now as you probably know, over recent years the Flying Scotsman was completely restored to running order, which now means that she's no longer cooped up at the National Railway Museum all of the time and she goes out on different railways for different days out and that sort of thing. So obviously she's not just sitting in the Railway Museum at the moment, but it is fair to say that that is probably her home. She was restored there and she spent a lot of time there over the last few years, so I think it's still fairly reasonable to run her today. As you can see, she's coupled up to some LNER teak coaches, which are the obvious choice for me. I think I always run those with the Flying Scotsman because they just they look so nice with it, don't they? So let's get her started then, the fantastic Gresley A3 Flying Scotsman. We'll start with just a little bit of a crawl just while she gets started. There we go, and I'll speed her up to a great express speed. There we go. Okay, let me show you what's on the middle line then. Okay, so next up then we have the beautiful Star Class. Now, of course, the Star Class at the NRM is quite a special one because it was the very first of the class, Lodestar it's called. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got Lodestar, so I'm going to run the Star Class that I do have, which is called British Monarch. Now, the one at the NRM, Lodestar, is in Great Western Green, I believe. Now, as you can see, mine is in the early BR Green, which isn't quite right, but I thought, you know, it's close enough, it's not miles off, is it? So I thought I would just about get away with that because I wanted to run a Star. As you can see, she's hauling just a small rake today of Great Western coaches there, which I think look beautiful with her. So let's get the lovely Star Class running then, and we'll just pretend today that this is Lodestar, the first of the class. And of course, it was quite unusual to see the Star in unrebuilt form at the National Railway Museum because, of course, lots of them were converted into castles, which is an interesting little fact for you. So here on the inside line then is of course Mallard, and Mallard is probably one of the crowning jewels in the National Collection at the NRM. Obviously Mallard is in LNER Garter Blue, and she has been for some time. Now the only Mallard I've got in LNER Garter Blue is this quite old-fashioned Wren one. Now I know a lot of people aren't too keen on these because they're really basic models, but for the sake of getting the right livery I've run her today, and because she's an old loco I've put some old coaches on. So these are some Triang Thompson coaches, or at least they look quite a bit like Thompson coaches. Not too many of those. So let's get her started then, one of the NRM Absolute Classics. So here she goes, it is Mallard, 4468. There we go, let's get her going. Lovely, okay, let's have a run with these then. So there you have it, all steamers to start with then, and of course the National Collection consists mostly of steam locomotives, but not entirely. There are some diesels and even some electrics in there too, so I will run some diesels later on, just because it's nice to hear from those, but to start with, yep, just steamers. And there is Lodestar in inverted commas. Love the Star class. In fact, all of the 460s from the Great Western were beautiful, weren't they? There's Mallard, world's fastest steam locomotive of course. Still got the title for the time being. Flying Scotsman looking beautiful today. Yeah, very smart as always. And Mallard definitely living up to her name today, going at quite a speed. Whoa, let's bring these to a stop then. As much as I love these, it's just about time to move on now because I've got loads more to show. So there we have Mallard and the Star class, or British Monarch, pretending to be Lodestar today. And the Flying Scotsman's just coming in now. She's on DCC, so I can stop her with my iPad here. There we go, the first three locos from the NRM, or one sort of from the NRM. Okay, I'll take these off camera then, and I will load the next three locos onto the lines. Okay, let's do it. So I've put those first three locos into a siding where they'll stay for the rest of the running session, and now then back to the outside line with another NRM classic, and this of course is the 9F Evening Star, and this loco is special in real life of course because it was the last steam locomotive ever to be built by British Railways. Now in the past when I've said that, a few people have swooped down on me and said it's not, it's Tornado, and yeah, okay, Tornado was built after 9F Evening Star, but of course not by British Railways, which is the crucial part. But yes, the 9F has got to be one of the largest locomotives in the National Collection, hasn't it? It's absolutely massive. And I've coupled up to her quite a big train here of chocolate and cream coaches, and as you can see they snake all the way down the main line there. So let's get her started then, the beautiful Evening Star in BR Green. So next up then, here is my Great Northern J13, absolutely beautiful. Mine has the running number 1226. Now there is a J13 at the NRM in York, that one is also in the Great Northern Green, just like mine is, but theirs has the running number 1247. So this one is a little bit off, but it still looks very much like the one at York. As you can see, she's coupled to just two little LNER clerestory coaches, which I think look absolutely beautiful. So with that, let's get this lovely little tank engine started. Of course, completely different again to the 9F. There we go. Let's get them going alongside each other, shall we? There we go. Okay, let me show you what's on the inside line then. So this is my Merchant Navy in BR Green, as you can see, and the Merchant Navy at the NRM is quite special because it's kind of been sectioned. They've removed a huge portion of the boiler so that you can see what's inside. Obviously that means that the Merchant Navy at York isn't going anywhere anytime soon, but mine's in running order, so that's good for us today. So the one at York is number 35029, Ellerman Lines. Unfortunately I don't have that one, so I'm going to run this one, which is 35020, and that's Bibby Line. So different name and number, but the same class of course, rebuilt and in BR Green. So let's get her started. And she's got some Pullman coaches, as you can see. I forgot to show you those. Okay, let's have a quick run with these then. I think Evening Star there was one of the only locomotives, maybe the only locomotive, to be earmarked for preservation before it was even completed. So I assume they knew it would be the last. So it's quite nice that they kept that one. And of course there are, I think, one or two others, aren't they, 9Fs, still preserved. And certainly I was lucky enough to drive one of them. I've got to squeeze that in there, haven't I? There we go. Got the 9F and the J13 running side by side, really nice. Don't often get those chocolate and cream coaches running, so nice to do that for a change, I think. And isn't that Merchant Navy beautiful? Oh, I think that was my first ever Merchant Navy, Bibby line. Really fond of her. And amazingly, Evening Star and the J13 are still running side by side, so I think we've got another inseparable pair of friends now. Of course, two completely different engines, aren't they? They couldn't be more different. Looks like the J13's dropped off a little bit. He's coming to the lead. But yeah, haven't they got some gems at York? I suppose we really should count ourselves lucky that we've got so many beautiful steamers still preserved. Yes, a lot of them were scrapped, and that's a terrible shame, but we could easily have lost more, so I guess we should just be grateful. And if you ever go to York, it really is amazing to see all these things in full scale. Okay, let's bring these beauties to a stop then. So there is the J13. Let's pause her just there. There we go, nice smooth stop. There's Evening Star, a lovely 9F, just behind her. We'll stop her. And now we're just waiting for the Merchant Navy, who's stepping in for the Ellerman lines. There we go, with her lovely Pullman train. Okay, I'll take these off then, and I'll be back in just a second with the next lot. Okay, don't go away. Okay, so I'm going to do one more round of steamers and then I'll move on to some diesels. So next up then we have this absolutely beautiful Hughes crab in the maroon. Now the NRM do have the maroon crab, but it's a different running number to this. Theirs is 13000, and would that be the first of the class? I only say that because a lot of the NRM locos at York always have something special about them. So it's possible that the one at York is the first of the class. Not too sure. Anyway, mine is 13098, so not quite the same running number, but certainly the same or similar livery. So she's too beautiful not to run either way, isn't she? Anyway, she's got some LMS coaches, quite a lot of those, because she's quite a powerful loco. And with that, let's give her a little test and see if she can manage them. Oh yes, very nice. So there she goes, the very, very beautiful crab. Okay, next up. Okay, so here is probably one of the NRM's most iconic looking locomotives. It is of course the Coronation Class in beautiful LMS maroon, streamlined as you can tell. Now of course the one at York is the very famous Duchess of Hamilton. Now mine unfortunately isn't that particular one, mine is City of Birmingham, but as you can see mine is still in the streamlined condition and it's also in the LMS maroon. And so I thought it would be okay to run her. She's got some Pullman coaches as you can see, so we're going to get a bit of an express service out of her I think. So let's give that a try now, the beautiful Duchess standing in for the Duchess of Hamilton. Alright. There we go. Nice and quick. Okay, one more steamer then, and here she is on the inside line. So here she is, the Ugly Duckling herself, known as the Southern Railway's Q1. Now I remember seeing this one at York before I knew anything about them, and I remember thinking to myself, blimey, that's a strange looking thing, isn't it? And certainly they were one of Oliver Bulleid's weird little designs, but absolutely fantastic. I really do love these. Of course, the one at the NRM is number C1, and I think that definitely was the first of the class, wasn't it? Mine isn't C1, it's C24, but it is in the Southern Black livery, just like the one at the NRM. And as you can see, she's got some goods today. She's got some tankers, just a few of them. And let's get her started then, the Ugly Duckling, although I don't find them all that ugly, the Q1. Alright, here she goes. Nice gentle start. It's going to look pretty strange alongside the Duchess of Hamilton, but not to worry. Okay, let's have a running session with these then. So there's the beautiful crab. Absolutely fantastic in that LMS maroon. I really do love that. And here comes the Duchess of Hamilton, wink wink. Or the City of Birmingham, as she's also known. Still looks the part though, she's still got the amazing presence that the Duchess of Hamilton has. I think we've got some of my favourites this round. As you know, I love the Q1 to bits, and this crab is just incredible. And obviously, there's no disputing how beautiful Duchess of Hamilton is. Or the city of Birmingham, whichever we're calling her today, I've lost track. And of course the Q1 played a big part in World War II. They were actually designed and built during the Second World War. And that's the reason that they've got that really strange sort of austerity look to them. Because they just didn't have the money to design something grand looking, so they had to be inexpensive, and that really comes across. There you go, two beautiful LMS locos running side by side. Oh, you gotta love them, haven't you? Okay, time to stop these then. So there we are with the crab, and the Duchess of Hamilton isn't far away. There we go. Just waiting on the Q1 then, and she's approaching very quickly. Here she comes now with her tankers. I think that's the only goods train I've done today, strangely. So there you have it then, that is the last of the steamers. I'll put these into that siding then, show you that briefly, and then we'll get on to some diesels. I wouldn't want to forget those today. So there's everything I've shown so far then, and as you can tell the sidings are starting to look a little bit busy now. Anyway, let's move on to the first of the diesels. Here's the first one. This is the GWR railcar. Quite an unusual looking thing, isn't it? And yes, I think there is one of these at the NRM in York, so let's get this one running then. Not something I run too often on the channel, this, so I'm actually looking forward to getting her running again. So here we go. So on the middle line then, here is another classic diesel. This one is the Class 55, the Deltic. And I've seen photos of this at the NRM, and it looks just like this with those yellow ends. Obviously, it isn't this one. Mine is 9006, and the one at the NRM is D9002. So a slightly different running number there, but certainly similar looking. This one has got some BR Mark 1 coaches, I think they are, in the blue and grey, which I think suit her quite nicely. So let's get this started then, the Deltic. So here we are then with the last loco of the day, and this is one of my favourite diesels actually, if not my very favourite. This is the Class 20, and just like the one at the NRM, this one is in BR green, except the one at the NRM is D8000, which again might be the first of the class, and mine is 8138. So again, slightly different running numbers, but similar looking nonetheless. So mine has got a rake of wagons behind her, as you can see, which hopefully will make it look a little bit more interesting. For now then, let's get her started. This railcar keeps catching my eye. I'm thinking she's lost her coaches or something, but obviously she is running light. I'm just so used to seeing things hauling coaches. Quite a good looking thing though, isn't she? And of course one loco I've not run today is the Stephenson's rocket. Now of course they do have a Stephenson's rocket at the NRM, but it is a replica, it's not actually the real thing. Not too sure when they built the replica, but it doesn't look like the real thing. The real thing's at the Science Museum in London, and it's been heavily modified. So it wouldn't really be quite right if I ran the Stephenson's rocket today, but I thought I might as well show it. There's the lovely Deltic. Wow, going at quite a speed, as is quite common with these lemurs. And of course the GWR railcar, and following up is the Class 20 in the BR green. Yeah, I'm pretty fond of the Class 20s, I really like the shape. So you've seen all of the locos now. Obviously there's too many to include them all in a poll, but if you have got a favourite, let me know what it is down in the comments and we'll compare notes. I think for me it's a toss-up between the Merchant Navy and the Q1 in the background there. I do prefer the Merchant Navies in BR blue, if truth be told, but I don't know, that Q1 is lovely. Might change things up and choose the Q1 today, yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed doing this for a change. I hope you have as well. If you've got any similar sort of ideas to these, Do let me know. I've got one in mind which I might do. It's similar to this but not quite the same, but I'm always up for ideas, so if you've got anything good, let me have it and I'll definitely consider doing it. But time I think then to stop these three. Let's just wait for the Class 20. There she is. We'll stop these three, put them all in the sidings, and then we'll do my favourite part, which is to look at all of them together. Alright, let's do that now. Alright, Deltic first then. There she goes, and the Class 20's coming by pretty fast. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bit too trigger happy on the controller there. And of course the Great Western Rail Car. Okay, I'll pop these into the sidings then, and we'll take a look at them all together. So, there you have it then everyone. These are just a few of the locos that you might see if you were to take a trip to the NRM in York. So I can highly recommend visiting, and of course you will see some old favourites there if you do. But for now, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that, and of course if you did, let me know in the comments, and drop the video a like if you want to, because that will really help the channel out. But for now folks, thank you very much for your company, and I will see you all very, very soon. Alright, cheers everybody.